Hey guys, Silven here. Today we're going to learn how to easily do Hespori for the RuneScape idiot. Hespori is a plant boss for mid-level players, but don't let the 284 combat level fool you. If you have decent food, you'll be able to do it at a much lower level anyway. This guide will include requirements, how to get there, setups, strategy, and some extra tips. Now, let's look at the requirements. Firstly, and most importantly, you'll need a Hespori seed. You'll get them randomly from doing farming or from farming contracts. Once you've got one, you'll need to take it to the farming guild. Enter Hespori's lair, rake the weeds, and plant the seed. You won't need any compost and it can't die. You'll also have to wait 22 to 32 hours of real time for it to grow before you can do the fight. So try and plant it as soon as you possibly can. To get into the section of the farming guild where Hespori is, you'll need 60% Hiatus favor and 65 farming, which can be boosted to 60 with a garden pie. If you're planning on using melee, which is the best method for Hespori as he's weak to slash, you'll need a minimum of 40 attack, strength, and defense. You'll also need 37 prayer for protect from magic, and I'd recommend at least 60 hit points. For the range method, you'll need a minimum of 40 range, although you may be pushing it a little under 50 because your DPS is so low, but I've definitely seen people do it with 40. And you'll also need 40 defense and prayer to give you significantly more survivability. You'll also want at least 60 hit points to survive the fight, because it can hit quite high and quite often. These are the minimum stats. I'd actually recommend a bit higher if you can get them, and I'll be showing a range of gear setups a bit later. Getting there is extremely easy, as Hespori is located in the farming guild. It's in the Kebus lowlands on the west coast of Zaya. You can use a skills necklace or somebody else's max house with a skills necklace to teleport directly there. The CKR fairy ring is also a short walk, and so is the battlefront teleport, which can be bought as a tab. It's very close as well. If for some reason you don't have these at a higher level, which you should, you can use the harder elite diary blessing. It's a bit further away, I guess, but it's useful if you have nothing else. Also, if you're 99 farming, you can just use the cape to teleport directly to the farming guild. Now let's look at the setups. First we have the melee method. For the most basic requirements, you'll need 40 attack, defense, and strength with 37 prayer. You'll want to pray magic because your gear is focused on defending against range attacks, not mage attacks. Don't worry about prayer gear because you'll only be using 1 to 2 prayer potions, and it's not worth losing the extra defense for it as the fight's pretty quick. I'd also bring a super combat and some combo food. That's the food you can eat on the same tick, such as Karumba ones, because at this level you'll end up going through quite a bit of food. It is definitely possible to finish the fight, but you may end up with an empty inventory. You'll also need an anti-poison or an antidote plus, as they're actually cheaper on the GE and they're much better. You'll need 12 bronze darts as well. I'll explain why later, but a lot of the guides will tell you that you need a blowpipe or a bow, but it's not actually true. The bronze darts do exactly the same thing with almost no cost, regardless of your level. I'd also take a super combat or a superset, but at this level I'd highly recommend a super combat just to free up some of your inventory for more food. If you can get your hands on one, of course. Just when you're a lower level, if you have bad RNG, you may end up dying just from a lack of food. And lastly, a one-click teleport can save you from losing 25k that you'd have to spend buying your gear back when you die. Now, if possible, I'd recommend getting at least 60 attack and strength, as it'll make the kill go so much smoother with dragon weapons and a special attack weapon. The prayer book is really good up until you get a defender. Basically, you want to deal as much damage as possible. Now here's another example, this time of a higher level setup. You won't need any anti-poison because of the Serp Helm, and it's best to bring a Dragon Warhammer or a Bando's Godsword, although it honestly doesn't matter too much. This boss isn't that hard and it's not that high of a level once you get to this point. Don't forget the bronze darts still work here at this level as well. Look, there isn't too much instruction around what gear you need because this boss is pretty weak. Ideally, you'll use the highest DPS gear you can to kill it as fast as you possibly can. You don't really need the prayer stuff, you don't really need the tank stuff. Now when we look at the minimum range setup, I've seen people beat him with about 40 range and defense. You'll need rune arrows with a U-bow, 2 to 3 prayer potions as it's pretty slow, a bastion potion or a range potion for the range bonus, an anti-poison or antidote plus, your best food including some combo food if possible, and a teleport out. You won't need darts in this situation because you'll be using your bow to do the same thing, but you can take them if you want to save a little bit of money. Just keep in mind that at a low level, you want all the food you can possibly take, so I just wouldn't take the darts in this situation. Maybe as you level up a bit. In this image, I don't have the basic Ava's device because I just don't own one. Take whichever one you can wield in place of the one I have. Once you get past 50 range, the fight becomes a lot easier with a magic short bow, and if you're much higher level, you can use Armadillo or Blessed Dragonhide with a blowpipe to great effect. Again, because the boss isn't that strong, just use your best gear that you have and it really won't matter too much if you're not absolutely perfect. Now let's look at the strategy part of the guide. To initiate the fight, climb down into Hespori's lair and click on him. After a quick option, he will spring to life and fight you. Hespori attacks using a mix of range and magic attacks. They can be reduced by prayer, but not entirely. Along with his auto attacks, he has 2 fight mechanics. The first is the Flower Boys. Hespori has 4 Flower Boys located in a square around him. When they open, they prevent him from taking damage and you'll have to kill all of them to damage him again. They have 10 hit points, but you always kill them in 1 hit and you can't miss. So it's best to use bronze darts to kill each one quickly and go back to Hespori. It doesn't matter that bronze darts are low damage and low accuracy because you'll kill them in 1 hit regardless of any of the stats. The Flower Boys are open when you start the fight at 66% HP and 33% HP. The second mechanic is his bind. Sometimes during the fight, he will bind you with an entangle spell, preventing you from moving and attacking. It'll be visually visible as like an entangle kind of spell, but it will also tell you in the chat box if you miss the animation. To escape, you have to spam click to move anywhere else in the room, and eventually you'll break free. If you don't, you will take a big chunk of damage. I didn't test this out for the video unfortunately, but I've read up to about 40 damage. Don't forget, you can be poisoned during the fight, so if you have your antidote plus, you can actually use it before you start the fight, so you're just protected for the entire duration of it. Once you've killed him, you can go back upstairs to get your spade. You don't actually need to bring it when you're doing the fight, you can do it afterwards. And if you need to plant another Hespori seed, take a seed dibber and your other Hespori seed, and come back. Make sure you have a few inventory spaces as well before you do, and then dig up his remains and plant your new seed if you have one. That's all there is to it. Now here are some more tips just to help you with anything else. If you die, you can come back and get your stuff for 25k, but if you die again on the way to getting your stuff, you will lose absolutely everything. You can leave the area by going out the crack in the wall at any time, or teleport out and then come back and attempt the fight again if you feel like you're going to fail. Remember, it's instant, so it's going to reset every time you leave. Using combo food, especially when you're lower health, is important to maintaining your DPS, and it can help you live in times where you would actually just die. If you have a farmer's outfit when digging up Hespori after the fight, you'll get bonus XP. Don't use prayer gear as you're looking for the highest DPS possible. The fight is very short, so it's just not worth it. And the higher your farming level, the higher chance you have of getting the farming pet drop, which will never happen to me because I am never lucky. Thank you, Judgex. That's all for today. Let me know on Discord or in game if you need any more help or if you have any more suggestions for next time. I'm always open to hearing more suggestions. I love what you guys have to say. I'll always respond as soon as I can to every comment I can. And I'll see you next time. Bye!